Hi, folks. Welcome to another Rio and Raw conversation. In this episode, we are diving into the remarkable story of the Druze, a unique Middle Eastern community that has stood shoulder to shoulder with the Jewish people since the birth of the State of Israel, since 1948. Our guest is Anan Kheir, a leader and spokesperson for Israel's Druze community. We'll explore the deep historical ties, the proud record of military service, and why, in such a turbulent region, the Druze have found safety, opportunity, and a true home in Israel. So, this will be more than a conversation. This will be about history and also about loyalty, shared values, and a partnership that stood the test of time. So if you are into this, stay around for the next 60 to 90 minutes. Make sure to use the chat box to make the conversation dynamic and interactive. If you know someone who is interested in this topic, the best thing you can do is to share. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure to do that. That's the best way to promote us on YouTube sphere. If you enjoy what we do here, please press the like button below. Just before I start my conversation with Anan, I want to ask Marco, how are things on your end in Israel?
Things are not too bad. Things are looking up. We're consolidating our position, put it that way. The government is doing good things, and we're on the road to a better place.
Good stuff. Anan, you are very welcome to this podcast. I saw your interview with Marco on the Italian channel. I'll try to follow as much as I can with my Italian knowledge. So I'm very curious now to talk to you, and I'm delighted that you are here with us this evening. I would like to ask you, just to give us a... No, you're very welcome. I'd like to ask you to give us a brief outline on who are the Druze and what makes your community unique in the wider Middle East.
Good evening. Thank you again for having me. The Druze are a special ethnic religious minority, mainly located in the Middle East. The Druze is sort of very isolated and very secretive, mainly situated, as I said, in Syria. We have approximately 900,000 to 1 million. We don't have confirmed numbers, obviously. In Lebanon, we have approximately 400,000. In Israel, including the Golan Heights, 150,000. And we have a community in Jordan as well of approximately 30,000. And we also have communities around the world, Druze around the world, who migrated mainly from Syria and Lebanon during the civil wars and in the late 1800s due to work purposes, who moved to the Americas, being that in South America or North America. We have in Venezuela a big community, in Argentina, Canada, Brazil, USA, and in Europe and Australia as well. These communities, as I said, were formed mainly by refugees from Lebanon and Syria who fled the war recently and previously as well. That's about it. That's about where the Druze are located and who the Druze are.
On a personal level, okay, not much in terms of your roots or origins, what means for you to be a Druze Israeli?
Well, to be a Druze, that means I'm part of a very special religion. I'm really proud to be a Druze, and to be an Israeli, obviously, is to be to be a citizen of the only good place in the Middle East. It's the only democracy. It's the only place where, as a minority, I do not have to fear anything. It's the contrary is right. It's correct, because as a minority, I have extra rights. I have rights for minorities in Israel, laws for minorities. Obviously, we have issues as any minority, any other minorities, but altogether, I feel a proud Israeli citizen, and I feel privileged to be born in Israel, being an Israeli citizen.
Yeah, I visit Israel 7 times. I don't recall interacting with the Druzes. I probably spent most of my time between the two major cities in Tel Aviv, so I'm the one to blame. Let's put it like that. If I go back on the time, which I hope happens very soon, where should I go to meet you guys?
Yeah. Well, the Druze are located in Israel, are located on Mount Carmel. We have two villages, Isfia and Daret al-Carmel. That's near Haifa. And we have the rest of the villages in the Galilee, and we have 4 villages in the Golan Heights. That's why if you go to Tel Aviv, obviously you would probably bump into a Druze, but you wouldn't know he's a Druze. But Druze communities cannot be found near the Tel Aviv area. We live in our villages. We do not usually move out of the villages. I mean, we do move out, for work purposes, to study, but eventually we go back to the land that we grew, to the village where we grew up, to build a family of your own. Now, as I'll give you an example of myself, I traveled a lot. I went to university abroad, and I worked abroad as well. But eventually, I returned to Pekin village, built a house, and started a family.
Yeah, I actually been to the Golan Heights. I think it was 3 or 4 years back. I love it, so I need to go back. That's one of the most precious areas. Like people think of Israel as the desert and seaside, but there is this place which is full of woods and nature. So that's a fantastic area to visit. Marco, do you want to chip in?
Also, the Galilee and the Golan Heights.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, absolutely. Tell me something. So I think people need to know about how the Druze are positioned within Israeli society compared to other minorities, because I think this is a very important point. I think the Druze have reached a level of integration into Israeli societies which the other communities haven't reached yet, and perhaps are an example to the other minorities.
Well, yeah, I always say that the relationship between the Jewish people and the Druze people is both historical and spiritual. We call it a bond. It's a bond between the Druze and the Jewish people. People tend to mistakenly think that this bond or this relationship between the Druze and the Jewish people started with the formation of the state of Israel in 1948, but that's obviously wrong. The Druze, as I said, have a very strong relationship with the Jewish people, which goes back to Jethro days. Jethro is called the priest of Midian and became the father-in-law of Moses after he gave his daughter Tzipporah in marriage to Moses. And it was Jethro who encouraged Moses to appoint others to share in the burden of ministry. That's where it began, the relationship between the Druze and the Jewish people. Now we have evidence that this covenant, this special relationship, was maintained throughout history. An example which I always give is Rabbi Benjamin of Tudela, who was a famous traveler similar to Marco Polo in the 12th century. Benjamin of Tudela visited Europe, Asia, Africa, and many other places. And he also visited our area. He came to the Galilee, and in his book, in the book that he wrote about the land in this region, he said that in the land of the Galilee, he met a very special minority who called themselves Druzians. He mistakenly referred to us as Druzians, and that the Druzians are very friendly to the Jewish people, and spoke about the relationship, the special relationship that the Druze have with the Jewish community in the Galilee in the 12th century. Now, moving forward in history, this relationship was maintained up until in the 1920s and 30s, before the establishment of the State of Israel. The Jewish people, they had gone through the terrible Holocaust in Europe, so the Jewish community was sort of chased and weak and hit. and they had terrible violence against them all over the place. The Druze back then were also weak and hit in our lands here. And there's Riyad Ali, who is a reporter in the Israeli national television, explained in one of his televised report that in the 1930s, the Arab Liberation Army placed the center of command in his village, in Maghar village, which you mentioned, Marco.
Indeed,
That's in
indeed.
the 1930s. So the Arab infidels searched the houses of the Druze, and his grandmother, as Riyad Ali explained, was taken by her parents to their Christian neighbors. The neighbors took her in and put a cross on her neck in order to hide her identity. Now that resembles something, and that gives us
Indeed,
goosebumps as
indeed. That
well.
has
That resembles something.
yes. That's very
So
interesting.
that's sort of a background. But then after the formation of the state of Israel in after 1948, obviously many Druze were part of the forces and the Haganah and being other forces. But in 1956, that's a very remarkable date. In 1956, the mandatory army service for the Druze was legislated, and since that day, all the Druze youngsters are obliged by law to serve in the IDF. That excludes females and religious people. So that makes the Druze the only minority in Israel who go to the army alongside with the Jewish people by law.
Indeed, and
And
they're
I say
renowned.
that
They are renowned for their fighting prowess as well. I want to underline that as well.
absolutely. And then we have a series of legislations and laws that were passed in 1957. For example, the government of Israel decided to recognize the Druze as an independent minority and therefore separating the Druze from the rest of the Arabs in terms of the country, how the country looks at us. In 1962, the Druze Courts Act was legislated, giving the Druze community a court of their own to deal with marriages and divorces and religious matters. So that makes the Druze, that made the Druze a special minority with special sort of rights.
Very interesting. Can you tell us something about the sacred sites for the Druze? Because we have a number of them in the Galilee. Can you tell us a little bit about that? The holy religious
We have
sites?
the main, yeah, obviously the main one is Prophet Jethro, that's near Kfar Chitim, near Tiberias. That's our
Right.
main prophet. It's Jethro that we all know. That's where all the Druze go, to do
The
the
pilgrimages.
rituals, the religious rituals. But we
Mm,
also have Nabi Sabalan in
that's right.
Khorfesh, yeah, and we have Nabi Qadr and Nabi Yafuri in Kfar Yasif, Kufar Yasif. So we have many prophets. We have Nabi Ayub in Lebanon.
Very interesting. Now, the Druze have been the presence of the Druze in the land of Israel can be traced back to at least 1,000 years, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Anan?
That's correct. I mean the Druze religion was formed in Egypt initially. Okay, it was formed in Egypt in 1017. Intensive between. I'll give you a background about this
Yeah,
as well,
fair enough,
if
fair
I
enough.
may. If I may.
Certainly, certainly.
So yeah. So the Druze religion as a faith, as a religion as we know it now, it was initiated or started and opened between in 1017. In 1017, anyone who wanted to join the Druze faith was welcome to do it. Back then, messengers were sent to all around the globe to invite people to the Druze faith. If you wanted to join, you could have joined. People who decided to join became Druze, and this window of allowing people to join was closed in 1043. So, as I said, these invitations, or we call them dawah, were sent to all the corners of the globe, including India, China, and other regions. You would say, why on earth were dawahs or invitations sent to India? Well, the answer is very logical, really, to give equal opportunities to everyone who wished to join this faith, this religion. So at the end of the days, one cannot say that I did not know or I wasn't given a chance, etc., etc. So that's where it began. And then, being a minority, we were chased in Egypt. They tried to kill all the Druze. Some of them fled, or most of them fled up north, similar to the Jewish people. You see, there's a
yes, the
similar stories.
resonances. Yes, the resonances.
Yeah. So they fled, and that's why the Druze villages are located on tops of mountains usually, because it's they had to hide. So they went to places where they can hide and set up and established villages and places to live.
Yeah,
Vitor,
you mentioned that the villages are on top of mountains, so that probably
most of the Druze, but that's strategic. That's strategically,
yes.
If you want to fight someone, if you're on top of the mountain, you're in a
of
good
course,
strategic point.
like castles, say, in Europe back then.
Yeah,
but that probably answers my next question. You guys are not very open for conversion.
Not at all. You're a Druze if you're born to a Druze mom and a Druze dad.
What are there situations? Sorry. Are there situations, because obviously there are many affinities with the Jewish faith. Obviously, we too are supposed to marry among Jews. It doesn't happen all the time, and it's a problem. We acknowledge it in Judaism. It is a problem when somebody marries out. Does this phenomenon exist as well within the Druze community?
Yeah, it exists everywhere, but it's really, you can count it on one hand, these situations. Sometimes you have people, but the way we look at it, the way the religion treats it, it's not like, for example, in Islam, where you can go and kill them. In Islam, if someone is, if someone
apostasy,
decides, you're allowed to kill him. So in the Druze faith, it's something between you and God. It's not to do with me as a human being. I'm not in a position to judge you. So if you decide to go that way, you should know that you're not a Druze anymore. Okay, there are certain limitations to what the community can accept. But in terms of faith and what God will do or will not do to you, that's something between you and your God. And that's similar also to the belief of the Druze. That's why we do not have temples like big churches. We have khilwe. Khilwe is it's a room, doesn't have any decorations, doesn't have furniture. You sit on the floor. Obviously, you have mattresses on the floor. The religious people sit on the floor and read the religious books, because being a religion, it's not about buildings. It's about a relationship, a special relationship between you and God. It's not a special relationship between you and other human beings.
Vitor?
Going back to this relationship topic, if you would have to summarize the bond between the Druzes and the Jews in one or two sentences, how would you?
About the bond, you mean between the Druze and the Jewish people?
Correct.
It's both. I said it's both. It's a strong historical and spiritual bond that will live on. We see evidence now. Look what's happening in the region. We see evidence. Look what happened in October 7th. Okay, who were the first people to on a Saturday to put on uniform and go drive south without even being called to the army. It was the Druze. We have Hassan Habaka, he's Ganaluf. What's his Ganaluf?
That's a good
He
question.
was an officer. Yeah,
Yeah.
Hassan Habaka was at home. His unit, he was in the tanks unit, a commander in the tanks unit. His unit was in the north, but he drove to the south and he saved one of the kibbutzes. Sadly, 2 months later, he died in battle in Gaza. But that's what he did, and that's what many others did. If I give you the statistics, every Druze that was sent, who was called to service, reserve service, turned out and went to the army. All of them. And even people who were released from the army asked to volunteer in the IDF. That's October the 7th. Similarly, look what's happening to our brothers and sisters now in Sweida, and we see that Israel, given the limitations, I mean, that's another topic, but given the limitations, the geopolitical limitations, Israel did what is not supposed, what is not expected of a sovereign state because of the relationship with the Druze.
Indeed, which I think we need to now explore, because this is a pressing situation. Can you tell us a little bit about what is happening in Syria to the Druze community? Because the Western media have put up the force field with regard to events in Syria. They don't want to know anything about it. They're not touching it. They're concentrating on phony genocides in Gaza whilst ignoring a real genocide in Syria. I'd like to delve into that with you now.
The situation in Syria is really tragic. It's absolutely devastating with the images that we saw and we're still seeing. Something that the human mind will find it difficult to even imagine and comprehend. Killing babies, raping women, burning people alive, vandalizing anything that they can. And they did that to churches as well. There is a Christian community in Sweida. There's a small Christian community, 20,000, I think. They have a church there. They went to the church and they vandalized everything and killed people. Even, I mean, we're still receiving evidences. We saw the terrible video of the hospital. They're shooting staff just because they're Druze. They didn't do anything. A doctor, how is a doctor threat to anyone? How is a doctor bad to any religion? I mean, he was just treating people despite of their religion, faith, or whatever. You know, anyone who goes into the hospital would get treated. We have, I mean, there are people, religious women, who thought when they heard what's happening, they thought that the best place to hide is the house of God. Okay, so they went to the Khilwe and just sat there, you know, with the children, women and children, only women and babies. They went inside, they killed everyone and burned the place.
We've seen that script before. Yes, it's a recurring theme here. Yeah, Vitor?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we still have approximately 40 small villages where no one entered. They're located. See, I'll give you a brief on the Sweida region.
Please.
The Sweida region, Sweida is a very large area. It's half the size of the state of Israel. Okay, so in Sweida, you have the east side and you have the west side. The east side of Sweida, where they entered into the villages and did what they did, is not it's not an area of mountains. It's sort of a desert, flat area. You do not have big cities there. It's small villages are not close to each other. So they went to the west side of the Sweida region, and they started going inside the villages. Now the men were mainly the men who were able to fight were outside the villages doing other things, trying to control the region, because it's a very big area. As I said, half of the size of the state of Israel. But the main concentration is on the east side. The east side is an area of mountains and hills, so it's very difficult to try to occupy it if you don't have a heavy equipment. And that's why in east side of Sweida, you have the largest city in the Sweida region is Sweida itself, and then you have Kanawat, you have Jaramana, you have many cities. These cities, they tried to enter the outskirts of these cities, but they were stopped. But we still have 40 villages. The number is absolutely devastating. 40 villages that even after 30 days, no one can enter these villages to check how many people died inside. So you have corpses, bodies still inside the houses. They sent some people to try to see what's happening in these villages, and they returned and said that some of they tried to enter two houses, and these two houses had bombs inside, just waiting for anyone to enter. You know, it
Booby
will explode.
trapped. Booby trapped. Yeah.
Yeah,
Booby trapped.
it was a trap. But
Mm.
they said that they saw people,
Mm.
people being killed while eating. They didn't even
Yes.
give them
Yeah.
a chance to stand up. Just, you're sitting, having dinner with your family. They just shot everyone and went outside.
Mm.
The shaving mustaches of religious
Yes.
people as a sign of
Yeah.
humiliation,
Yeah.
just like the Holocaust. Absolutely devastating sceneries. I mean, I saw a video that it wasn't made public because it had naked
Mm.
women and girls, and what they did was something you wouldn't even imagine that a
I think
human being can
I
do that.
well, one shouldn't be able to imagine it, but unfortunately, we've become accustomed to it here. Unfortunately, Anan, that is the sad story, and
Yeah,
that the Western media deliberately ignores, and this is an absolute outrage. While focusing on Israel and events that don't happen in Gaza, and ignoring a real genocide, that in itself, I think, is to be accomplices in a crime against humanity.
absolutely. I mean, we're working on this as well. Last Saturday, we met with a few congressmen who came to Israel.
Mm.
We have a delegation of congressmen and women that came to Israel to see that there is no starvation in Gaza, and they came to Tiberias,
Mm.
and so we took this opportunity and we went to. We asked for permission to meet them on a Saturday morning, and they
Mm.
obviously said yes. So I went there with Sheikh Muwaffaq Tarif, with two members of Knesset and other respected people, and it was really interesting because I asked them directly, did you hear what's happening to the Druze in Sweida before you came here? And they said, no, we know there's a civil war in Syria. So, just like the media is saying, it's clashes between minorities. There's a civil war since 2011, and there's continuing clashes between minorities. That's not clashes between minorities. That's ethnic cleansing. That's trying to kill people based on their religion and based on a disgusting belief of these extremists who have nothing to do with Islam, by the way. That's not Islam. That's
No, of course
crazy
we're not.
people. Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy people who decided to interpret certain words, and say that we're allowed to kill everyone. So the sad part is they started with the Alawites by the seashore. They
Mm.
killed approximately 20,000. I'm not sure about the number, but they killed many of the
Mm.
Alawites. Then
Yeah.
they moved to the Druze, and then they said, we're coming to the Yazidis. We're coming. You're next.
Mm.
The
Mm.
Yazidis are next. And, the punchline, their leader was standing with a weapon saying, Jerusalem, we are coming.
Yes. Yes.
So that
The
they're not going
so-called
to stop. They're not
Al-Chulani.
going to stop with, yeah, they're not going to stop
Mm.
with the Druze or with any other minorities. They
Yeah.
have a plan. And as Sheikh Muwaffaq Tarif said to the congressman, he said that if the world does not wake up and stop them, You will have them next in Saudi Arabia. You'll have them, and eventually you'll have them in the United States, and eventually, sadly, you will have another September 11th knocking on your door.
Yeah. They don't seem to the idea of even cutting a deal with these monsters, I find perverse and absurd.
Yeah, I mean, look, Al-Julani, he used to be a terrorist. I mean, I'm not making this up or saying it.
Not
Well,
used to. He
there's a
continues
video
to be.
evidence. Yeah,
Yes, he
video.
continues
He
to be.
started with Al-Qaeda, which is
Yeah,
was back then the most extreme, then moved
yeah,
to other places, and then
yeah,
HTS or whatever,
yeah.
with different names. And then the moment he put a suit and a tie and a fancy watch on, all the bans were lifted, and they treat him like he's a hero now, and he's invited, by the way, to the United Nations. How can you invite a terrorist to speak at the United Nations when
Well,
people in his country are dying?
Anan,
he's not the first. He's not the first. There are plenty of nasty people in the United Nations. If you look at the committee for the women rights, Iran is there. So that's very telling. If Iran is leading human rights, it's no wonder that guy is invited. Is there among
shouldn't
friends.
be surprised. We shouldn't be surprised in the sense that Yasser Arafat was invited years ago, and all the collective degenerates were invited. That's why the United Nations has no real authority. It cannot be taken seriously.
Yes,
he was
the only difference is that he's invited while these atrocities are happening as we speak. While he will be standing there, people will be trying to kill people based on their religion, color, or whatever.
Indeed.
The problem is with the Sweida region. He's trying to say that we have it's got nothing to do with Syria as a country. It's groups of Bedouins, because the Bedouins tribes are comprised of 150 tribes in that region. So when the Assad regime collapsed, some of these tribes, or most of them, just took over the military equipment. So they have tanks, they have drones, they have guns, they have weapons, they have everything. And some of them just want to join the party. So when Al-Julani took over, he's claiming that he has no authority or no control. They're not listening to him. Now that might be right to several tribes, but the other tribes, if we look at the videos, look at the video of the hospital that was released. Yesterday. You see people with uniform. And now we have people we set up, in Julis. That's where Sheikh Muwaffaq Tarif, our leader, is situated. We have a situation room there, and we have these a lot of ex-soldiers and young people who are very clever and smart with these AI tools, who are building profiles, to provide it to the army and to any other entities. They're building profiles on people who participated, so to check if we have a recurring players. So we can clearly see that some of the commanders, sometimes they're wearing uniform, and sometimes they're wearing religious clothes, and sometimes just wearing casual clothes while committing atrocities in different places. And that will help in building a case to the human rights courts.
I wouldn't hold my breath with regard to the Court of Human Rights. I don't think anything.
Yeah, but that's only to make the world, know about what's happening. Not that.
What's the best way, Anan? Now that you touch base on that, what's the best way for you guys to gain visibility? Because the atrocities are happening on a daily basis, and it to be too late,
Well, you have the Arab media, the big Arab outlets. You have Al Jazeera, you have Sky News in Arabic, you have Al Arabiya. They're not covering it at all. They're just saying there's continuous clashes in Syria, and Even in Al Jazeera, I saw a report that is blaming the Druze. They're saying that the Druze are
Yes.
causing, the Druze are against the country, the Druze are
But they're
against
part of
Syria.
it, Anan. They're part of it. They're part of the problem, Al Jazeera. They're part of
Yeah,
this
they're
axis of evil.
obviously.
Yeah, they're part of this
We see
axis.
what
Yeah.
we see them in Gaza as well. We
Mm,
see what they did in
indeed.
Gaza.
Indeed.
Yeah, but the Western media, we expect the Western media to try at least to show what's happening to a very special and loyal minority who never attacked anyone. Historically, we do not attack anyone. We just defend the Druze.
That's
We
right.
just defend. We don't
Yeah.
attack anyone. So just, give it 10, 20 seconds in a headline, CNN or Sky News or whatever, these Fox News, these big news outlets. But, they're silent. They're absolutely silent.
They are very busy, and you have to understand they are very busy blaming Israel. They don't have enough capacity to look after you.
No,
They are running out
and
of resources. So
it's not only that, because they're looking for audience, and the audience only engages if there's a free Palestine flag.
yeah,
Sadly.
I mean, it's very sad. Like I ask a few friends or in my social circle if they're aware of your situation. Well, most people are, let's say, fairly informed of the current affairs, but a couple didn't know about you. So I made sure that this was happening this evening. I tried to distribute as much as I can because you guys need to be heard. That's a complete disgrace. What's happening?
There's another thing. We've heard stories, terrible stories, about the Druze workers and students around the world being chased just because they're Druze. So we know of two incidents in Germany. We know in Dubai, in UAE, where employers sacked employees just because they're Druze, because they put on their status on the WhatsApp or whatever on social media videos or pictures of Druze, of the Druze atrocities or what's happening in Syria right now. So they were sacked. And even we have videos of extremists inside mosques in Europe calling for the slaughter of Druze, and the Druze are infidels, and look what they did in Sweida, trying to blame the Druze with what's happening in Syria. And they're trying to use the same videos that we have. Let's say, like, you have a video of a baby being killed. They're saying that this baby is, for example, a Bedouin, and the Druze killed this baby.
Yeah.
And then you have 500 million people watching this and believing this. And these 500 million people will say, look what the Druze are doing to our babies. And that makes every Druze person a target. Be that in Europe, be that in Syria. It's a really stressful situation and a really worrying situation in 2025, when we thought that humanity would advance 80 or 90 years after the Holocaust. But history is repeating itself, and sadly, history is also repeating itself because the world is silent.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I want to ask you one thing. Was it always like this, or this is related to the proximity with Israel?
I don't think it's got anything to do with the proximity with Israel. It wasn't like this since the war erupted in Syria. The civil war erupted in Syria. The Druze in Syria always said and always demonstrated and said that we are with a united Syria. Okay, we're against killing anyone. We're with a united Syria. They were not part of the civil war. They were always part of the peace, a voice of peace, with and for the united Syria. But then, when these atrocities happened, Syria is a sovereign state. The Druze or the minorities or any other person in Syria who feels that someone is coming to kill him, the state is supposed to save him. So Syria did not save them, and Israel is a sovereign state. Israel is not supposed to intervene, but because of the Druze in Israel, Israel did intervene, and they found themselves in a situation where the country, so the Syria, is doing what it did to them, killing everyone, killing babies, raping women, or whatever. And after that, coming and stealing the content of the houses. And Israel was the one that is trying to speak their voice and given the limits, the geopolitical limits in the area, in the region, try to do what they did to save these minorities, to assist the minorities, as I said, given the limits that it has. So that's why it's not, I wouldn't say it's because of the proximity. I would say because of the war, we have this proximity with Israel. And it's, I have to say that it's because of the Druze in Israel. It's not with the state of Israel. They're in good relationship with the Druze of Israel. Since the civil war erupted in 2011, the average income in Syria is $35 if you have a decent job. If you're a teacher, if you're a doctor, you have $35 per month. But in order to buy, the average household, if you need at least double or triple that amount in order to survive. And we're not speaking about cars or traveling or anything. So if it wasn't for without the the financial assistance that they got from the Druze community in Israel that we sent them on a monthly basis, they wouldn't survive. That's why that's part of the reasons why there's a good relationship. But then obviously we have the Druze in Syria and the Druze in Lebanon and the Druze in Jordan and in Israel are related. Before the formation of these states, Israel, Syria, Lebanon, we lived in the same region, Bilad al-Sham. It used to be called Bilad al-Sham. We're all related. We're all living in the same region. We have first blood relatives. For example, my wife's aunt lives in Jaramana, and her son was killed. So we're talking about my wife's cousin who was killed in this war. So it's not just because they're Druze. It's not just because we belong to the same religion. And it's not just because they're minority, it's because it's our relatives as well. If we see our relatives, someone is trying to kill them, to ethnic cleanse them, to do these terrible things to them, the minimum that we can do is try to demonstrate or try to assist them with what we can, and try, given the limits, to call for their assistance from the state that we live in. That's why Israel intervened, even though I would say that the United States, who's in charge of everything, does not like to interfere or intervene between minorities for obvious reasons. It wouldn't be clever if it went inside between minorities that can cause many troubles. Look what happened in Iraq. Look what happened previously in other regions in the world. That's why the world looks at this as clashes between minorities, as a continuation of the war. But the only difference is these atrocities. It's not civil war anymore. It's these religious fanatics who have nothing to do with Islam, who are killing everyone just because they belong to a different religion, and they blatantly say that we're coming to Jerusalem, and they're going to Saudi Arabia, and they're going to the United States, and they want to conquer the world.
I'd like to discuss the pernicious involvement of Turkey. What are your views on that?
Turkey is one of the main players in the region. You have Turkey, you have Russia, you have Israel, you have the United States and the West. But Turkey has always tried to take parts of the region, and I think Turkey, if Syria was to fall again, Turkey would want to take more and more parts of Syria, and it's a complicated situation. You see, I think Israel, the sovereign state, would prefer militias on the border than to have Turkey,
Indeed.
who might impose certain restrictions with what Israel can do in the region. So that's a complicated situation. But then, on the other hand, Turkey also has a situation with the Kurds. And if this civil war, I think that's my opinion, if this civil war continues with the minorities in the region, the Kurds might use that and say we have an opportunity to fight Turkey again. So that's a complicated situation, geopolitical situation. So that's why Turkey, I think, it's for the best interest of Turkey if we had a ceasefire and eventually some sort of normalization and peace in the region because of the situation with the minorities.
I think that's a little bit wishful thinking, because I think the Turks are the people who've been stirring things up with the bearded man in the suit, Al-Julani.
Absolutely.
So I think one has to be aware and not fall into dreamland, because Israel for many years was in dreamland with the Oslo process. It got sucked into this fool's paradise for many years. So I think it's better to be a little bit more cautious this time.
And the West is in dreamland about
Absolutely.
Al-Julani. And obviously, Turkey is not. Turkey has its interests. Turkey made it clear through actions what they want the region to look like, and we see how the radicalization process for the last few years is happening. We see that they do not want Israeli tourists there. They don't want a relationship with Israel. I think, given that Turkey is part of the NATO, that makes things really complicated in the region.
There's one country that we didn't mention very often since we started, which is Lebanon. So I would like to understand what's the situation of the Druzes in Lebanon.
The Druze in Lebanon are obviously very worried, and given the limitation that they have, we saw that some of them demonstrated, some of them tried to cross the border, but that's only a minority, because their political leader, Walid Jumblat, does not align with what we see in the geopolitical or the political situation. He believes he belongs to the extreme left in Lebanon, and he believes that Israel should not intervene, and the Druze in Israel who serve in the Israeli army should not intervene. But obviously, we cannot blame him for what he thinks. The Druze in Lebanon have their own situation. Lebanon is a very complex country. It's based on religion / political situations, historical situations, and they have an ongoing war since the 1970s. It never stopped. So we cannot really blame them for what they do, but they're still our brothers and sisters. And I'm sure, I have good connections, direct connections with some of the people, relatives in Lebanon. We are in the same, think the same thing as we think. We're really worried about our brothers and sisters in Syria. Luckily for us, we live in a democratic state where we can shout and we can ask the country to intervene. They're not in the same situation.
And how are the communities connected between Israel, Syria, and Lebanon?
Yeah, you have this very special technology called WhatsApp. Yeah,
they can watch.
Before technology, it was really difficult. It was really tough. But these days, with all the technology that we have, people are connected on a daily basis. We speak to relatives. Before that, it was really difficult. During the 1980s, when Israel was in Lebanon, it was easy because many Druze soldiers and officers were inside Lebanon, especially in the Druze region. So the communication was open. as to the Druze in Syria, it was difficult, but these days it's not a communication is not an issue at all.
I'd like to ask you about your insights with regard to other Arab citizens of Israel. Have you seen a change in their position, in perceptions of the state of Israel in the past 2 years, or is it static?
I think it's static. The people here are busy living. We see what's happening in the region. The whole region is going through difficult situations. Most of the people, being that Arab or Jewish in Israel, they just want to ensure that we have decent lives for our children and for ourselves. Obviously, you have politicians who think differently. They just try to move it to the extreme in order to be heard. And you have extreme people in every community, including the Arab community. But if it wasn't for politics, people can live together side by side without any troubles.
Of course, no, but there is. I'm going to press you a little bit on this because obviously we see the Druze have a particular relationship with the state of Israel. I wanted to know whether in the Muslim community, because I see more Muslims are joining the army. There is a greater interest on some levels. Some are reassessing their relationship with the state. Some are identifying less with Palestinism. Of course, they can see the results of identifying with Palestinism. It's a lot.
The new generation.
Yeah,
that's the new generation. I agree with you.
Yeah,
we can see this in terms of the numbers of recruitment to the IDF. You see, in the IDF, we have approximately 10,000 Druze soldiers. As we speak, 5,000 reserve, 5,000 regular soldiers. And we have, I think the number was 8,000 Muslim soldiers. So the numbers are increasing.
It's significant.
And that's
and
really significant.
And they're
I'm not sure about the number. I need to check it. But yeah that's obviously. And we also see them in civil service, in hospitals. We see them. We see many of them in police forces. But the civil integration is happening, but obviously you still have it's a very big community. The Arabs in Israel, I think it's 1 million, 2 million. I'm not sure about the number. I think it's 1 million. So you have parts who are in favor of integration and parts who like to take it to the extreme and speak in favor of Palestine and the state of Israel. But obviously they do not have a problem with taking bituaq leumi kesef.
Indeed. Yeah. I wanted to add, with relation to Palestine, and the Druze community put the lie to the Palestinist claim, because those who subscribe to Palestinism speak of an ancient people which we all know never existed, and the Druze are living proof of an ancient community in the land of Israel who never were Palestinian.
Yeah, that's part of the argument that we speak. I always say I was born in Israel. I'm a proud Israeli. I come from the Druze community, so I'm a proud Druze Israeli. So I was born in Israel. I do not want anyone to talk with me about problems that were formed or problems that were before I was born. That's got nothing to do with me. The world should look forward, not backward. So you still have these people who say Palestine or before Palestine or after Palestine. Obviously, just ask them who was the first Palestinian prime minister or who was the first Palestinian president. Because before the state of Israel, there was the British, before the British, the Turks, and so on and so forth. And before that, it was Bilad al-Sham. Bilad al-Sham
That's right.
Is the whole region.
That's right.
It's the whole region. It's nothing to do with Palestine. The Palestine that they're referring to these days it's got nothing to do with the Palestinian people, the historical
Of course,
Palestinian
of course,
people. It's got
of
nothing to do
course.
with it. I think it's after 1967
No, it's a completely
argument.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's so bad, but unfortunately, what's happened in the West and people's minds have been so collapsed by this notion. Palestinian is no longer just an ideology; it's a pathology, because you confront people with facts and they are totally immune to them. This is the problem. But I'm very happy that you, as a Druze person, put these claims, put the lie to these claims. And this is very interesting.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, even if you leave this issue of Palestine aside, look, where is the best place to live in the Middle East as a minority? Where is the
Absolutely,
only place that you can practice religion? Have freedom of religion. You get married and divorced according to your religion.
absolutely,
Be
absolutely.
that, and doesn't matter how you do it. You have your own courts. You have your own everything. You have freedom of speech, freedom to practice, freedom of movement, freedom of everything. And we see what's happening to minorities in the region. It's collapsing one after another.
Indeed,
History is repeating itself. It's
it,
really sad that
that's
it's
very
70,
true.
70,
That's
80 years after the Holocaust, the world
absolutely.
is still, we have a repeat, and the world is silent.
The world is silent because it's too
Again,
busy. Yeah, it's too busy dealing with phony news, fake news, Palestinism. The problem is, you see, what happens is Palestinism is the greatest oppressor of Arab people. This is the problem. This is what's kept
it's a fact.
many.
That's a
Yeah,
fact. Yeah,
yeah. It's but
that's a
anyway.
fact.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I mean, look at these the demonstrations that they have in many cities across Europe, for example,
yeah.
or in Australia, and you have like movements like Queers for Palestine, or Queers
It's
for I don't know. They would hang you if you're a queer in Palestine. They would hang you.
but this
How
is the
can you be
this,
Queers for Palestine?
this encapsulate the whole Palestinist movement, and I call now it's I call it palifrenia. It's a psychological condition. You're dealing with a psycho where people can't think straight anymore. They can't assemble
Mm.
facts, organize them, and this is a very sad. This is very sad. Sad for because I know there are very many decent Arab people in Israel who have been held back by this ideology,
Listen,
and
most of the Arab people in Israel and in the West Bank are decent.
yeah. Yes, absolutely,
But
absolutely.
but decent people, they're not making their voice heard because they
That's
just want to
right.
live normal life. They want to be
That's
quiet.
right.
But
That's
then you
right.
have these minority, a small group of people who shout,
Mm,
who for political reasons and for money reasons, obviously,
yeah,
uh, try to raise these issues, these false
yeah,
claims.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We are given contact here. Please contact and collaborate with Mansour Ashkar. I'm taking
Yeah,
a note here.
Mansour is
Do you know him, Anan?
yes.
Okay, so Marco, that's one for us to
Yes,
And
invite
Askia
to
is
show.
we shall endeavor to rope Mansour in. I've been trying to, but he's obviously very busy.
So
he's a really
thanks,
busy person. I will try to make the contact between you and
thank you.
Mansour.
Thank you.
Thanks
Hello,
for
good
the
evening, Mansour.
We
If
shall
you're there.
avail ourselves of your good offices.
Yeah.
so guys that are watching us. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. That's the best way to promote our stuff. And thanks for suggesting Mansour. Anand and Marco will do the best to have him here in the next few weeks, and we'll let you know. So just subscribe, press the bell, and you receive a notification hopefully very soon. Anand, can you share a personal moment of yours where you felt the alliance between the Druzes and the Jews in Israel? Just a personal story of yours where you felt, wow, this is real, this is fantastic, this is something remarkable.
There isn't a certain moment. We live it on a day-to-day life in Israel, but I think October the 7th was a moment in history, in our history, or recent history, where we thought what happened was terrible, and we were proud of the state that we live in, proud to be Israeli, and there was no difference between people being that Druze or Jewish people. You see everyone try to assist with what they can. I gave an example of Officer Hassan, of Officer Habaka, who left his house in the north and traveled all the way to the south, got on a tank and saved a kibbutz, but sadly was killed in battle 2 months after that. When the October 7th war erupted, the Druze communities started collecting, setting up these centers to collect foods and clothes to send to the soldiers in the south, in Gaza, to assist the soldiers, send food, send clothes, whatever, any of the basic needs. That's before these organizations or the IDF even started organizing these things, and that's a moment where you feel that you're a proud Israeli, proud to be a part of this nation.
Yeah, that's a powerful story. Yeah, thanks for sharing.
I just like to add, if I may, Vitor, the first
Sure.
time I came to Eretz Israel in 1989 on a kibbutz, I immediately struck up friendship with Druze people, and they were extremely kind and hospitable towards me, and that was one of the great factors that motivated my aliyah. Things could have been different had I not struck up friendship with Druze people, and
Yeah.
I have.
Another situation is when the war started in Sweida in Syria. We had Prime Minister Netanyahu and the Minister of Defense, Katz, who said anyone who tries to attack the Druze, anyone who tries to attack the Druze, Israel will intervene. And that was a moment that, for me as an Israeli Druze, a very big moment, something that had a big feeling inside.
I saw a footage of the Israelis opening the border with Syria, and plenty of Druzes were just running towards the Israeli land. Is it something recent? Because I didn't know the date.
Sorry, again, I missed parts of the question.
Yeah, I saw footage of. Sorry, there's an echo here. I saw footage of the Israeli border, okay, where the Israelis soldiers are opening it to the Druzes to run from Syria and exile in Israel. Is it something recent?
It's the opposite way. It was an incident where the Druze from Israel went inside the village, crossed the border and got to a village called Hadar. Hadar is obviously not close to Sweida. It's 60 kilometers away from Sweida. But then Sheikh Muwaffaq Tarif called for everyone to return, and everyone returned to Israel safely, and they closed the border. But obviously that was following a demonstration on the border where they asked Israel to intervene to save our brothers and sisters in Syria, following the brutal images and videos that we were receiving. So that we felt that nothing can be done, and then some youngsters decided to cross the border and they came back.
So looking ahead in the future, in the next couple of decades, how do you expect the relationship between the Druze community and the state of Israel to expand?
The Druze the Druze in Israel are part of the state of Israel. The relationship is there. The relationship is very solid. As I explained earlier, it's not something new. It's both historical and spiritual. We do not have any doubt that the relationship, we will remain to be proud citizens of Israel. But as any other minorities in the world, we have our own issues with the state, with regarding of rights of minorities, with regard of certain laws that we oppose, but that has nothing to do with us being proud Israelis.
What do you think? How do you see the situation in Syria evolving? What, from your understanding of things, what do the Druze people want? I understand there will be different opinions, but what's your understanding of the situation? Syria is no longer a state in the real sense of the word. It's going to break
Yes,
up. I think this is abundantly clear.
Yeah, it's complicated because even within the Druze, as I explained earlier, in the Sweida region, you have 700,000 people with, I'm sure, many opinions. So most of the Druze there are with Sheikh Hikmat al-Hajari, who says that we are with the state of Syria, but not this state of Syria, not with Al-Julani. We've been fighting for the state of Syria. He gives example that 100 years ago, in 1025, it was Sultan Bashar al-Atrash who fought against the French to liberate Syria. And 100 years from then, these terrible murderers are coming and trying to kill the Druze and blaming them for things that they have nothing to do with. So the situation there is complex. Where is it going? It's a really big question. Eventually, I do hope that the situation will move to the better, but it doesn't look like that. I think the best scenario would be to have an autonomy within the state, where you have Druze people in certain positions, ruling and governing the Sweida region, but the current Syrian regime, you have a minority with the Layth al-Bal'ous, Sheikh Layth al-Bal'ous, who has a minority, and he says he's with him, but he's only a small minority.
And what does he want? What does he?
He says that he's with the current regime. You know, he doesn't say it like that, but that's what he wants. He said we're with Syria, with current Syria, we have to fight with Syria, and so on and so forth.
That's a little bit. It seems to be a little bit wishful thinking, because it's a bit, reminds me a bit of some of the Jews in Germany in the 1930s saying, it won't be so bad, but we know what happened.
Yeah, but there is no other scenario. What other scenario can there be?
Well,
I'm sure there wouldn't be a new state, for example. The Druze would never.
Well, I don't know
want
that is one possibility. I mean, some people might say maybe a Druze
that's
state.
wishful thinking. I think someone mentioned a state for the minorities, not only for the Druze.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Someone mentioned a state for the minorities. Someone was calling for a state for the minorities, so the Alawites, for the Druze, for the Yazidis.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know where this is going.
No, I understand your caution, because it is a very difficult situation.
Yeah.
And I believe the Americans perhaps don't see so clearly in this matter. And I think that's a little bit of a problem. I think President Trump, on many things, he's been very good. But I think with regard to the Al-Julani character, I think that is quite a serious mistake. And I don't really see.
I agree with you.
I don't see anything good coming out of that. Yeah.
Why is that? No question for you, Marco. Why do you think Trump is acting in that manner with him?
That's a good question. To my mind, it is a very serious miscalculation, and I think he's been very good in many things, but I think this will be a source of instability. What's very hard to say.
They have a chance to fix it.
Yeah, they have a chance to fix it before it's too late, before it blows up in everybody's face. Yeah.
Lifting these bans at once was a big mistake.
Oh,
it was supposed to be, gradual.
Yeah. I can understand why he would have negotiated with the North Korean leader. I can understand that, but sometimes you have to do some very unpleasant things. But this is, I think, to my mind, he's gone a bit too far, having anything to do with this genocidal delinquent.
No, at the moment, Trump is busy with Vladimir Putin. He's flying to Alaska, and so that's those are big shoes for Friday. But let's not go off topic here.
For another time.
For another time. I want to ask you, Anan, what would you say to those people who don't recognize that Israel is doing the right thing when it comes to protecting minorities, looking after other ethnicities and people in the region? So they are wrong. You know they are wrong, but how would you help them open their eyes?
I would say if it wasn't for Israel, the toll of deaths would have been 100,000 people. It's as simple as that. It's because of Israel, because of the moral obligation that they have towards the Druze and the minorities. It's because of that somehow these atrocities were set back.
Right. With now, you obviously have conversations with people in Syria. What is your fear? What is their impression of Israel? They've come into contact with Israelis for the first time and with their Druze brethren after many years. What is the nature of are they curious about Israel? They must, of course, be very interested in the Druze community in Israel, how Druze live in Israel, and they must have formed an impression, and they must put all these things on the scales as well. They say, look how the Druze are living in Israel, and look how the Druze have lived and are living, and who knows how they will live in Syria.
Yeah. Obviously, they do. They understand that the Druze in Israel, our situation is very unique. We're privileged to be living in Israel. I'll give you a few examples. The first example is a personal encounter with a certain person who flew to Israel to get medical aid, a surgery, and I met them, a certain family, and that's one of the questions that I asked them, and they said, "You live in some sort of heaven. It's too good to be true." They see the hospitals, they see how we live and how we earn and how we help and how we're allowed to make our voice heard without any limitations. You can say whatever you want, as long as it's legal, of course. So they say, you're very lucky to be in Israel. And on the news, you can see that some people, I don't know the exact numbers, in Sweida were raising the Israeli flag. And if you zoom out a little bit, as a minority in Syria, as I said, Syria is supposed to be a sovereign state. As a minority, they're supposed to be saved or protected by the state, by Syria. So the state was the one that sent these terrible, brutal murderers to do what they did. And that's why they feel that if it wasn't for Israel, the number of deaths, which now stands at approximately 2,000 plus, would have been 100,000, at least 100,000. So they're thanking Israel for intervening and for helping to set back these atrocities. And it hasn't stopped, obviously. The war hasn't stopped. The clashes are still there, but not as it was at the beginning.
Yeah, but apologies. The issue is that these people are not very good with mathematics, and because they keep saying there's a genocide in Gaza, and the population is increasing year by year, so they are not very good when it comes to numbers. So if you address them in that way, they won't understand, because apparently they failed in mathematics if they attended that class back when they were young. So it won't be the way.
Well, these backed up campaigns, the campaigns in Australia, in UK, in Germany, in Ireland, someone is funding these campaigns. It's not people just going on the streets, and we know who's funding it.
Indeed. Yeah.
There's a lot of the envelopes, I would say, circulating across Europe.
It's the same, the same envelopes that used to go inside Gaza.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, same. Talking of the traveling, and since you are a proud Israeli citizen, I have this question, which is part of the deal every time I interview an Israeli man or woman. So, how would you incentive someone who is thinking to go to Israel, but they're hesitant because they hear so much bullshit on the news, but they want to pack and go? So, how would you tell them, go ahead, because that makes sense? Let's say from a travel point of view, how much can they benefit from visiting Israel?
First of all, Israel is one of the best places to visit. It has historical places, religious places, and wherever you travel in Israel, you'll find really nice places to visit, really historical, as I said. And the war now is in the south, is in Gaza. It's got nothing to do with the north. So if you go to Jerusalem, if you go to the Galilee, if you go to the Golan Heights, feel free, guys, to come and visit. It's one of the best places on earth. I'm not just saying it. It really is.
No, I can confirm as a tour guide. I can confirm every word that Anan has said, and there are some fantastic Druze villages which we can put on an itinerary.
Absolutely, you have 16 of them, or 22 of them, yeah, including you have 22 villages.
Indeed, and people can learn about wonderful Druze hospitality, food, and culture.
Yeah.
I'm going to add it to my next Israeli trip. That's something I cannot avoid, is visiting a Druze village. Yeah. But it seems that I'm going to eat a lot, so I need to book 2 seats for the flight back. It seems. Yeah. 2 seats of happiness. Yeah, 2 seats of happiness. Yeah. So just in terms of perspective, so you are optimistic about the Druze relationship with Israelis. You think this tie is there to stay? Anything you want to add in terms of the near future for the Druze community? Any word of encouragement for the Druze that may be watching us?
Well, my word is not for the Druze. The Druze do not need my word. My word is for the whole world to wake up. Wake up and look what's happening in Syria. Look what's happening to the minorities in the region. They're killing people just based on religion. That reminds us of dark days of humanity. It's really something that the world should wake up and demonstrate against and make sure that it doesn't happen again. But sadly, the world is silent and it doesn't concern anyone because it doesn't bring viewers and it doesn't bring likes on certain posts. So that's really sad. We want the world to wake up.
Anything from your end, Marco? Any closing remarks?
No, I think Anan has summed it up perfectly.
Yeah, I think it was fantastic. We need to bring here Masur Ashkar, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. So that's our duty for the next month or two. We want to make sure that the Druze community is being heard and that their voice is echoing, because you guys deserve attention, dignity, like everyone else. Simple as that. We're not here neglecting any community in the world, including the Arabs that are being attacked by Arab extremists. We are here for peace, harmony, and for a better world for every single human being. That's what we're here for, and to encourage people to visit Israel, because as I just said, Israel now is safe. Of course, there are issues across the Gazan border, but other parts of the country are good to visit. So here is the encouragement for the viewers.
Come visit the Druze villages.
Where should I start?
Any Druze village that you want. Give me a call.
I will go back to the Golan Heights. I can't remember the name, but I was at a kibbutz in the Golan Heights, very close to the Syrian border. Very, very close. Actually, we were at the Syrian border. I saw the UN, how they call the peacemakers. No, those guys that are
Peacekeepers, yeah.
Peacekeepers, yeah.
Yeah.
Can't remember the word.
It's
yeah.
a misnomer.
It's a big title. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not funded by the UN. No, I'm not. I wish, you know.
I don't know.
If I would have a very fancy background, you know.
Yeah.
You're on a
Probably
good
I would arrive in
salary.
Israel on a private jet, but that's not the case. Yeah.
Thank you very
So,
much. Thank you very much.
And it was a great pleasure having you here. So all the
Thank you.
best. Hope
Thank
we
you
can
for the
catch up next time
opportunity.
I'm in Israel. I want to thank
Absolutely.
the viewers who stayed with us for the session. I hope they enjoyed. If they want to express satisfaction, the best way is to press the like button below. If they haven't subscribed, I know a few did, so thank you very much for that. For those who didn't, I'll be grateful if they can do that. And if you know someone who may benefit from this conversation, I'll be very thankful if you can share. And Mr. Marco, I see you next Wednesday. We need to come up with another interesting topic. We need to be as interesting as tonight, which will be big shoes, but we will do our
Thank
best.
you. Thank you very much.
Our pleasure.
Take care, lots.